more of a coach. He tells his people that changing their bodies changing their minds will change their bodies. He says, once you change your mindset, your body will change. That kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? His name is Dave, and he developed a deep sense of honor and commitment in the Marine Corps. If you ask him to do a favor and he says he will, he is his word. You can count on him to do this. The author of the article, she trains with him. She's one of his clients, and she was recently reprimanded for being sloppy with her commitments. Dave asked her, he says, what are you really committed to? Are you more committed to your goals or to your comfort? Because we all know when we decide to change, we're going to get pushed out of our comfort zone a little bit, aren't we? And that's what we're going to talk about today as we begin our June series, How Life Responds to Us. My message today is when yes changes everything. Yes. In the Science of Mind, we teach the principles behind the Goethe quote that says, at the moment of commitment, the entire universe conspires to assist you. Isn't that a good idea? The entire universe comes to assist us. So what are you committing to these days? Is it an RSVP to an invitation, something simple? Or is it your improving your health, your finances, your love life? Is it maybe one of those things? Or what about spiritual practices and your spiritual center? Do you feel a commitment to this center? Do you feel a commitment to your spiritual practices to deepen and expand your relationship with the divine? Is that a committed practice for you? In the last probably 4 years, 3 years at least, I've been hearing complaining from a lot of ministers, not just in our movement, but ministers in all faith traditions, that their community isn't committed to attending Sunday services as much as they were before 2020. And that people aren't willing to volunteer as much as they used to be. And that sometimes they even commit to volunteering, but then don't show up and leaves them kind of in the lurch. Now, it's actually, I think, an interesting trend that I've noticed since 2020, not just in spiritual communities. You may have noticed it in some of your other groups and organizations that you participate in. We notice it in social circles. Suddenly people aren't as committed to attending social events as they used to be. Or maybe it's gym attendance or classes, book studies, meetings. Most gatherings of all sorts seem to be a little more lower participation or more sporadic participation than what we used to see in that routine of participation. And I wondered why that was. I think part of it is because we discovered the convenience of online participation during the shutdown and things. We couldn't get together. And it just took a while for things to get back to more of a state of normalcy, but everything didn't go back to the way it was. And while I love having our online community with us every Sunday, you receive the information, but it's not the same as being here. It's not the same as being in the energy of the room and participating and going to lunch after with a friend or making a new friend. It's not the same doing that online as it is doing that in person. So it caused me to look at my own level of commitment and what things am I choosing to show up for and to not show up for these days. So what do you think about making commitments? Does it give you the heebie-jeebies? Or do you like to make a commitment? The first time I gave a message on commitments was Valentine's Day, probably about 2016 or 17. And I think half the men got up and left the room. They're like, I'm not talking about commitment. I'm out of here. But it can have that effect on us. Commitment feels big and heavy. But I think we need to recognize commitment as a spiritual energy. As a spiritual energy. I've realized that there's power there to making and keeping our commitments. Saying yes and following through is like our affirmative prayer. Did you know that? It's like our affirmative prayer. And the third step of our affirmative prayer treatment, it's the realization step. It's where we realize our good is already ours. We affirm our good. It's our commitment to receiving it. We're praying for it and we're saying yes to it. I commit to receiving that. That's what that third step of our prayer does. If we're wishy-washy in other areas of our life about our commitments, that's the primary energy that we're broadcasting out to the universe, is that wishy-washy, kind of indecisive, non-committal energy. What if we agree and don't show up? We commit and don't show up. That's also an energetic message to the universe. We're broadcasting these mixed emotions and mixed feelings that we're indecisive about receiving our good. Honoring our commitments is powerful energy, not only of manifesting, but also of living in alignment with integrity, with our truth, and with spirit. It's a representation of our character, our humanness, and how we show up on the planet. So because we're one in spirit, the universal substance of all that we just talked about in our prayer, we're constantly broadcasting this energy, constantly broadcasting energy. Our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, the things that we have faith in or fear about. If you notice, those things have a tendency to show up in your environment because those are powerful emotions. That's powerful energy when we're afraid, when we have fear, or when we have faith in something. We talked about faith last month. When we have faith in it, those are powerful broadcast energies that the universe hears very clearly, very loud, very clear. Being wishy-washy in our commitments creates a blurry picture. It's not as clear. Ernest Holmes is the author of The Science of Mind that we teach from. And he tells us that life is a mirror and it will reflect back to us what we think into it. It will reflect back to us what we think into it. The flip side of that is we can look around our lives and see what's there that we've been thinking that's now reflected in our life as life circumstances and situations. And this is where the use of the power of commitment can change our thinking and change our lives. Remember when we did the complaint-free book a couple years ago and we switched the wristbands and we all had to stop complaining for 21 days straight, and every time we missed we had to switch the band and start over? Yeah, that was fun. Took some of us several months to do it, but we did it. We did it. I think everybody finally got through it. But complaining is a big red flag for us, that when I'm complaining about something, it's time to look deep inside and discover if I'm complaining about something, there's usually something else. The example of the girl in the gym that got reprimanded for sloppy commitments, she expanded on that a little bit and said that she had a sweet tooth and that she was trying to get fit and lose weight and so forth, but she couldn't control the sweet tooth. And so she was not committed to the gym and the exercise and the weight loss as much as she was committed to her sweet tooth. So that's what he was asking her about, her commitment. What was she more committed to, her comfort in the sweet tooth or her goals of being slim and fit? So that's the idea. That's the idea of complaining, is that if I'm complaining about this, there's probably something else going on, right? Probably something else going on. I have another commitment that's conflicting, maybe. I've had a recent complaint. And as I thought about it this week and with this message and so forth, I had to ask myself, what's the deeper underlying commitment that I need to understand and change or heal? What's the conflict here between what I'm complaining about and what's down here? Well, you know me, I'm always willing to be your guinea pig. So as your guinea pig this week, I did some deeper inquiry. and discovered that I had 5 reasons, 5 complaints that I listed. And the main one, well, I didn't tell you what I was complaining about, did I? I guess I ought to tell you that first. I've been complaining about going to the gym every day, twice a week. I made a commitment several years ago to do this to another person, and we go twice a week, 5:30 a.m. in the morning. And lately, I've been complaining about it a lot. So I took that into my practice, and I went into quiet reflection and meditation and asked, what's this about? So I listed 5 things, and then I reflected on those 5 things. And the one that really came to the surface is I prefer a much more laid back, quiet, easy introduction into the new day than get up, get dressed, grab your water, slam a cup of coffee, out the door, work out, come back, try to meditate after all that, eat breakfast, take a shower, get in the car, drive to the office. My hair's on fire by the time I get there. And that's what I realized. That's my underlying conflict, is that I prefer that easy sliding in. But what am I committed to? What am I committed to? I'm committed to my gym partner and going to the gym twice a week at 5:30 in the morning. That was my commitment. So how can I honor that and stop complaining, right? Nobody wants to hear complaining. So how can I work on this? So I had to get my mind aligned with the commitment and stop complaining. How can I better support myself? How can you better support yourself? I realized that I can manage my time better. I can manage my mental state differently. I can choose to go to bed on time. I can choose to get up a half an hour earlier and have my leisurely cup of coffee and my meditation time, and then get dressed and get ready and go out the door and go to the gym. I can make that choice, and I can do that differently. I can commit to no screen time on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Is that a time parasite? Mm-hmm. I can commit to that. I can lay out my clothes the night before, and I can buy new gym shoes, because that's something else I've been complaining about. My gym shoes are old and they are falling apart, and I complain about them when I look down and see them and they're just not nice. So I can buy new gym shoes. I can be happy about that, right? These are some of the ways that I can stop complaining and fix my problem, right? This is not something the universe created for me. It's something that I created for me through the commitments that I've made. I'm committed to my spiritual practice. I'm committed to going to the gym. So I've got to find a way to make that work. And I think I've found it. I'm going to try it this week. I'll report next week and let you know. So if we look at this power of commitment like a blueprint, you use that to tell you how to build something. And we've worked hard on our design. Maybe it's a beautiful blueprint of abundance and health that we create here on Sunday mornings. And we're very excited about it. We've got a prayer partner praying with us about it. It's all great. We go home, we're feeling super on Sunday afternoon. Tuesday afternoon, we get a phone call with a diagnosis, or maybe we get another symptom of something, or maybe we get an unexpected bill, and we tear up that plan with our doubt and our unbelief, and we throw it away. We throw it away. We split our commitment between what we want and what we fear. We split our commitment between what we want and what we fear, which completely neutralizes it, doesn't it? Holmes taught us that we are never victims of external circumstances. We're only victims if we let external circumstances dictate our internal design. When we tap into the energy of commitment and honor it through the power of our mind, we allow the law of time to work. It works through our commitment. Commitment is the glue. It's the glue that holds our desires in place long enough for everything to come into alignment for their manifestation. Science mind is very clear that affirmative prayer works, but we cannot go against the laws of physics, nature, spirit, that there is an order to the universe that we have to work within. So we can't pray that water is just going to suddenly go uphill, right? It's suddenly going to start flowing uphill. It doesn't without pumps. So we have to work within the system. And when we're praying for and calling something into our lives, there may be other things that need to happen in order for that to come forward for us. It's not always instantaneous. So we have to have that commitment to what it is we're calling in and hold that steady, believing for a sufficient amount of time to allow that and all those things to happen, to allow that to appear and manifest in our lives. Anybody remember the original Star Trek TV series? Remember the transporter room? They would go in, they would stand on those little circles, and it was beam me down, right? And they get all jiggly and wiggly and transparent. And then they disappear, and suddenly they'd appear the same way, kind of jiggly wiggly on the new planet. Well, sometimes it didn't work. Remember that? And they'd get all jiggly wiggly, and then they'd come right back. They get jiggly wiggly, and then they'd come right back. That's kind of like what I'm talking about. That this idea of commitment is when it's the solid form, and that jiggly wiggly fuzzy picture like we used to get on those old TVs, the universe can't click in on that. It can't, there's not enough energy with it for the universe to hold it and make it manifest for us. So it's up to us to hold our vision, to have the spiritual discipline and commitment of mind to hold that vision. Ernest Holmes has a quote that he used in practitioner training to remind us of the power of our minds. He says, the trained mind is more powerful than the untrained mind. When we come to understand this power of thought, we will carefully watch our thinking. Well, I would expand that and say not only are we going to watch it, but we're going to do the practices necessary to train our minds towards right thinking. We need to watch what we're thinking, but we also need to train it and get it in line. Think of your untrained mind like a restless child. You ever been around a restless child? They wiggle, they squirm, they whine, they cry, they want a cookie, everything, right? And our minds can get that way. But when we have a trained mind, we can train our minds by using spiritual practices to come into alignment with peace and with spiritual truth. Excuse me. Little frog down there. Go away. We talk about embodying this teaching a lot. And embodying means that we practice it until it becomes a way of living. Well, I think everybody in here drives a car, yes? And you learned to drive a car probably a long time ago. And a lot of us drive on autopilot, don't we? Because we know how to do it. It's embodied within us. It's part of who we are. We can drive a car. We can probably drive a car pretty much any place in America, any place around the world. The steering wheel might be on the wrong side, but we can drive a car because it's embodied within us. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about embodying the science of mind. It becomes a way of our living. And this takes spiritual discipline and commitment because our possibilities are unlimited. But in order to bring those into fruition, into form in our lives, we have to have a strong, what Ernest calls a mental equivalent of what that is, of what that thing is, a mental picture to live that reality. He tells us that a mental equivalent is the subjective embodiment of an idea, which is so accepted that the mind can no longer deny it. Now, we've all developed one of those with electricity and turning on a light switch. Do you think about turning on a light switch when you flip it that I hope it comes on? Not usually, right? I hope the electricity's flowing. We just hit the switch and keep going. We know the lights are going to come on. That's the level of embodiment. That's the level of the subjective embodiment he's talking about. Mental equivalents are the mind pictures that we have that are the mold into which this universal substance is poured. And that sounds very childish, but it's kind of the example of how we teach the idea of mental equivalence. It's equal in force, amount, value, but not identical in form. Because some people get confused that the teaching is, well, you tell me not to outline form. You tell me to let the universe bring, that form to me. I have the idea of what it's going to feel like and so forth. So what is a mental equivalent? A mental equivalent is the same in value and force and amount, but not an identical form. Have you ever bought a store brand as opposed to a national brand? Let's say you buy a can of Safeway brand or Kroger brand soup, chicken noodle soup. It says chicken noodle right there on the can. Can's the same size. You prepare it the same way. It's the same color, same basic ingredients. Are they equal? No. Campbell's soup and the store brand soup are equivalent chicken soup, but they're not equal chicken soups. They're different, aren't they? They're different. Another more technical example is hydroelectric power. And we use a lot of that in Arizona, right? It takes about 15 gallons of water through the turbine to produce 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. We can say that 15 gallons of water is the equivalent to 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. But they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Just like our thoughts are not forms, our thoughts are the equivalent of the form that we're seeking to experience in our lives. The drawing of the music stand is the equivalent of the music stand, but it's not the music stand because it's not in form yet. Make sense? One of the considerations that we need to watch out for with our mental equivalents is having a mental equivalent for what we don't want. For what we don't want. Let's look at the example of health and healing. We know that the ultimate reality of our bodies is that we are whole, perfect, and complete, right? That's the ultimate reality of our bodies. So our mental equivalent is the absolute conviction of that inherent wholeness within us. That's the mental equivalent. The key is to stop picturing a sick body getting better. Now that's a subtle shift. The key is to stop picturing a sick body getting better. Because what that does is it holds the vision of sickness in our minds as opposed to the vision of a whole, perfect, and complete body. When we were in practitioner training, that's one of the things that they teach us. If you ever go into a hospital and walk in and you see a sick person in the bed, turn around, go back out, treat your own self to see that person is whole, perfect, and complete. Because we must hold the mental equivalent for the desire, not for the current appearances. Make sense? In the science of mind, commitment is not an exhausting effort of willpower that I'm committed to this and I'm going to hold on as tight as I can. It's not that. It's unwavering faithfulness. That's why we talked about faith last month. It's the unwavering faithfulness to yourself, to your mental design, accepting that the universe does respond. It is really a mirror that responds to us when we are committed to our desires. Another way we can look at commitment is surrender. We are surrendering to the one desire to let all the other distracting ones go. Anybody remember junior, senior prom? And we were waiting for the right guy or right gal to ask, and we weren't willing to commit too soon, right? Just in case that quarterback wanted to ask, but maybe not. Then I don't get caught in the cold, so I got to time it just right. That's not committing, is it? That's not committing. We have to surrender all others for that one desire. That's when we commit. That's when we commit. That's when it locks in. That's when the universe gets the clear picture and says, you've said yes, so we say yes. Commit to your desire, and your desire will commit to you. So, our spiritual practice this week is to engage with this power of commitment. Notice anytime that you say yes to anything, if you use the word yes, notice if there's a commitment tied to that yes. Internally acknowledge it, commit to honoring it, no matter how large or how small it is. Be aware and intentional about that this week. If you find yourself complaining about your commitment, take it into deeper reflection and ask why you're complaining about that. Why am I complaining about this? What's really up with this complaint? And start listing your answers. And when you feel complete with your list, reflect on it, and one will probably resonate more than the rest. It did for me. And pull that one out and ask yourself how you can change your mental equivalent and still honor your commitment. And then implement and take action on your plan. That's basically the process that I used to dig deeper under my complaining about going to the gym and to come up with a strategy to overcome that and to make it fun again. So I'll let you know next week. It's basically a journaling practice. So I do have a final note about commitment I want to talk about this morning. And if your commitment involves another person and they don't honor their commitment, their piece of it, commitments are almost like contracts, right? And if they don't honor their side of it, you are not honor or energetically bound to continue to hold that commitment because there's been a breach. There's been a breach. The contract is broken. Our work is how we handle that broken contract. That's how we grow. How do we deal with that? This week, I invite you to commit to your yes and watch the universe commit to you. So I will open the microphone if anybody has any questions or comments about commitment or mental equivalence. I'd love to hear how you've made a commitment and it worked out. Right. You are. I love it.
I just wanted to comment. I don't have two jobs, so I can commit to 4 days a week at the gym. And I do it. There's no doubt that I'm going to the gym on those 4 days. And my brother goes there. And so I'm walking around the track with him complaining about how I hate to do this. And he says, yeah, me too. He said, but I've never once said, I'm sorry I went to the gym today. So but that's on the other end, I dug out an old self-help book that it's what gets me there every morning, and the Sedona method. And it's about releasing all the reasons that I have for not wanting to go and just going out the door.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm going to have to pull that one up. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Commitment or mental equivalence? No? All right. Well, it's time to pray again. My favorite thing. Would you join me? Recognizing that there is one power, one presence, one life, and that is all that there is. Spirit, source, God, essence, presence, the one. It is infinite love. unconditional, unconditioned, pressed down to overflowing, in through and as all of its creation. And I know that it is in through and as me and in through and as each one of us gathered here today, in person and online, and those listening to this later. For there is no separation, there is only connection, there is only oneness, there is only wholeness. And so knowing that we are one in the one, I speak my word and affirm the truth of the good that we are, the good that is in our lives, the good that is available to us, the possibilities that surround us, and our ability to choose and our ability to commit to the exclusion of other things, that which is our heart's desire, that which is the possibility we seek for ourselves. I affirm that we are willing to take the necessary actions to walk those commitments forward, to center ourselves in them, into this new design for our lives that we're creating this year. And that as we make these designs, that we commit to them. We use this energy of commitment and commit to them and allow the universe to reflect them back to us as we live them, live in them, through them, and they live in, through, and as us. And we are our spiritual magnificence revealed. I know this day for anyone that has anything on their heart, that as they lift it into the energy of this prayer and the consciousness of this prayer, that we as a community hold them in our hearts, in our love. We surround them with our peace and just know the complete and total revelation and manifestation of whatever that is on their heart this day, that it is healed, that it is lifted, that there is flow, that there is ease, there is grace, and there is peace. And how thankful I am to know that this is not only a possibility, but it is spiritual truth. I am grateful for its revelation. I'm grateful for its manifestation. And I'm grateful for this community of beloveds who come together in connection, in love, in sharing, in kindness, in giving to the world. We are so blessed. And so I release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done. And we affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.